Hey everyone, welcome back to Tilted PodQuest. You can just call it TPQ for short. So last week we did our very first episode. Thanks for listening to that. If you made it through the whole thing, kudos, because I know it was a bit rough. But, it's all about shaking off the cobwebs, and I think as long as we're having fun, who cares? Consistency is key, so we're going to try to maintain a pretty regular upload schedule of Fridays, we decided, yeah?
Yeah, so every Friday we're going to try to upload at least one episode, give or take, in our current day lives. For example, we are going to PodQuest at the end of August, so we might be hosting it live in our hotel room or do an early host of our podcast.
Yep, and where are my manners? That was Alex, and I'm Paul Michael, your host, and yeah, let's get going. So first up on our list of things to talk about, we got a lot of games to get through, first of all, but looks like we're starting with Ghost of Yotai, which we have a lot more details now. We have a release date of October 2nd, 2025, so just in time for Halloween. There's a collector's edition that's going to be around $250, but it's going to include some physical stuff, so it'll have a sash, a suba, a ghost mask, which I think looks pretty cool, some art cards, coin, game, and pouch. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's like an in-game currency, so they probably 3D printed that game coin.
Ah, I got you, okay. I was a little confused there. And then a papercraft ginkgo tree, which is cool because we tried to grow like those mini bonsais that you can put on like a desk. Yeah, they died. They're barely. I don't even think they sprouted. So those are the paper one will never fail you.
Yeah, the bonsais are very hard to take care of. You have to know what you're really doing in order for that to grow.
Yeah, well, paper doesn't need any of that. As long as you don't light it on fire or bend it the wrong way, I think then you're fine. So, yeah, and then, of course, you get digital items. So you got snake armor die, horse and saddle, sword kit, charm, traveler's map, which is an early unlock, and, of course, the full game. I would hope you get the full game.
Yeah, you get the full game. However, there are talks about it being digital instead of physical. Like, I, too, want a physical, disc.
Disc, yeah.
To download and play with. Times are changing. Everything's slowly moving over to digital. So, I'm feeling disappointed on that part, but,
yeah. But it's been going this way for a long time, right? It's been ever since, even like the PS3, even when, games were converting over to digital spaces, people were saying, physical media is dead. But now we're coming up on like 20 years since that point. We're still getting occasional physical releases. They're rare, but there's still a market for it, I think.
There's still a market for it, especially with this current trend with, companies just shutting off online games or even digital games in general. So after you bought the digital game, they're going to probably force you to buy the same digital game for full price again for the next console. Depending on how greedy the corporations are.
Yeah, well, we did see some generosity with transition to the PS5 and Xbox Series because for a long time there, a lot of games you bought once and you got on both platforms, right? So you bought like a I think actually Ghost of Tsushima, the earlier game in this series, actually included a free upgrade from PS4 to PS5, which is not too uncommon. But now previous generations being left behind. So often you're only buying a PS5 version. You're not expecting to get the PS4 version because, well, the PS4 at this point is how old? We're coming up on 13 years, I think.
Give or take. 13, 14 years. Yeah. But, there are still a market of people still playing PS4. Even on PS3, I still see some people playing on the PS3.
Yeah, sure.
Not because, they want to. It's just they can't afford the next console. So, it's quite understandable.
All right, moving on. We also have some news about the Killer Inn closed beta. Now, I know next to nothing about this, so Alex, you might as well take it away.
Yeah, so for the viewers who were watching our podcast on YouTube or Spotify, we had a half a clip, or at least one full game clip of Killer Inn. It was recently a closed beta for a couple people. It's not out yet. I got a chance to play it. I dove head in, barely know nothing, so you probably see me walking around trying to understand the game. It's a really interesting game. It's not the game that you be expecting. If you ever play Werewolf or Mafia, it's none of those versions. So, to give context, there's two teams. There's the wolf and the lamb. So there are, I believe, 8 wolves and 16 lambs. And in that game, it's an action game. It's kill or be killed. There's no story behind it. There's not much of anything, I would say, to pinpoint you to the next stage or anything like that. It's more of you go into the lobby, and once you head into game, you're just basically there to kind of figure out what to do. The object of the game is for the wolves to kill the lamb or stop any of the lambs from escaping, and then vice versa, the lamb must kill all the wolves or try to escape within a time limit. Both teams have, things they can do in order to progress the game. So for the lambs, they need to find clues in order to reveal the wolf and take down the wolves. The wolves work together to kill the lambs secretly and, hide the bodies and stuff. So that's the short term. Overall, I like the game. So far, there's many potential things that can make the game even better. But we'll see. It's a closed beta, so we'll see what the developers are going to do.
So it's 24 players too, right?
It's 24 players in one match. The match can go as long as about 40 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds pretty chaotic.
It's quite fun. There are many characters. There's more than 30, I believe, characters in there. Each character, depending on what character you choose, have different abilities. So every level 2 and 4 unlocks a new ability. In order to level up, you have to do small quests in there, and it's straightforward. The game's very straightforward. There's not much to do. Just collect weapons, level up and get money, and buy gears and stuff to take down your opponent or do whatever it takes to survive.
Well, sounds interesting. So switching to our next title, actually is Chronos: The New Dawn, which totally my bad. We could have talked about it last episode. I didn't realize, timing-wise, the embargo would have lifted and everything, but might as well talk about it now. So a couple weeks before the first episode we released, I found myself in Oakland, California, talking with the Bloober team about their upcoming survival horror game. Not only talk about it, but also playing it. They let us play for about 2 hours. We got to play somewhere early in the campaign, not quite the tutorial, but something maybe a little after it or during the later part of it, but whatever the case. Yeah, I got to see, firsthand how the game felt. We played on desktop, so we played on pretty beefy hardware, I think it was an RTX 5080 maybe, might have even been 5090, I don't remember, with the usual high-spec, CPU and all that. So it ran buttery smooth, but that's probably just because the hardware's really high-powered. But I believe it's an Unreal Engine, like many games these days. It was definitely unsettling. I wouldn't say it had too many jump scares. I didn't freak out, but then I also don't tend to jump. Like my wife and I will watch a streamer play a scary game. She jumps all the damn time. Mm-hmm. I'm very tough to get I guess scared in that way. But even still, the game was definitely had that grotesque horror to it. Before you people want to say oh, this feels too much like Resident Evil or feels too much like Silent Hill or whatever, Chronos throws in the use of fire, right? Because the whole thing is that you're just another number in this company that's trying to extract memories or something from people who perished in something called I can't remember right now. They named their cataclysm, had a special event that turned a lot of humans into what are known as orphans, which is this universe's zombies. But anyway, you're in a suit that's fireproof. So when you kill an enemy, if they have these tentacles left behind, that means that they can be absorbed by another enemy that has the same tentacles. And if they complete this, it's called merging, and the enemy gains the abilities of the demon or whatever or the orphan that it consumed. And so now you have to face, for instance, if a enemy was that was walking up to you was just armored and slow, and he merges with someone that used to be fast and less armored. Now you have to deal with an armored, fast enemy that's also taller than you, and it seems like shtick, a new gimmick that they have for this game compared to all the others. So to get rid of those tentacles, once you kill an enemy, you then have to use this fire charge that's a very rare resource. So you can't just torch all enemies that you kill, because now you're going to be at it when the time comes for torching a big enemy, which could still merge with something else. You then have to manage your fire charges, and so you have to, in classic Silent Hill or Resident Evil style, you have to wait for these certain checkpoints to then use what scant resources you have to either upgrade your fire charges, upgrade your health charges, or upgrade your firearms, and there's only so many resources to go around. So I think it's a well-polished experience. It is due out later this fall. They don't have an exact date yet. I would imagine they're trying to aim for around Halloween, just like Ghost of Yotai. But we'll see. It's by the Bloober team. It's not their first rodeo. They had a lot of success with the Silent Hill 2 remake. And ever since that, I think they've kind of hit their stride, and they have a lot more confidence in how they can produce survival horror that's like, it's got a lot of homages to the old style of games, but also a lot of modern conveniences. So definitely want to look out for it. You can check my preview on mpfirst.com. That's mp1st.com. We have all the coverage on there. But yeah, have you seen any of it?
No. After you talk about it right now, it seems interesting.
You'll freak out for sure.
Yeah, the concept is very, I wouldn't say newish, but it feels a lot more different than most horror game. You played Dead Space, right?
Oh, yeah.
One of the scariest game. I believe I still haven't finished Chapter 2. It's so scary that I stopped playing. I literally had it there, and it's sitting there for a very long time. I probably won't even go get back into it later on. But we'll see. However, this new game, Chronos, I feel has a lot of potential. So when you talk about merging and stuff, it feels like, what's that one movie? The Thing, where it can transform into a different person, maybe absorb the memories and stuff. So something similar to that concept. So it's very interesting. I really want to see the game. But October, that's a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
What games do we have? Ghost of Yotai. We got Silent Hill F.
Yep.
Chronos. We have a couple of other October games too. So they're going to be competing against each other.
Yeah, some of them less than others. Like, you won't see Chronos competing against, say, like Battlefield, which we do actually. I might as well use that as a segue. Our next game on the list is Battlefield 6. That also got a release date recently, and that's launching on October 10th of this year. Tends to launch around that time anyway. And actually, last week I was in Los Angeles. I guess I can say now, in like the El Segundo area, and EA threw a massive media blitz for just the multiplayer portion of Battlefield 6. So the event was not talking about single player. They made one mention of it, saying that yes, we're going to have a full-fledged campaign. However, we're not here to talk about that. They invited us at Multiplayer First, plus a whole bunch of other media outlets, streamers big and small, and they just turned it into a giant celebration of all things Battlefield and all things multiplayer. So, but most importantly, we got our hands on the game. So the first day was before the public event, and we all had about 4 hours of multiplayer on day one. And then on day two, which was optional, of course I went anyway, we did another 4 hours of hands-on gameplay. It was just against other people at the event. Wasn't open to the public or anything like that. But yeah, I got all kinds of time with, and footage, which you're probably seeing now, of me just dying over and over and over and over. Because as one of my colleagues at Multiplayer First actually pointed out, the TTK seemed really high. Like, they had everything tuned up, we think, just to make more action, and because they understood a lot of their streamers that were there are hardcore into Battlefield, they're hardcore into Call of Duty, so like they're expecting, I guess, to be like a Twitch shooter kind of feeling. So hopefully they'll tweak that a little bit, because I think some of my deaths were a little quicker than I would have liked. On the other hand, they usually happened, I want to say, when I was respawning, not respawning, when I was being revived, and I guess that makes sense because there's a lot that EA and 4 studios working on this single game, and it's called Battlefield Studios collectively, and that includes Criterion Games, DICE, of course, because they started the whole thing, Ripple Effect, and Motive. There we go. And I knew I'd remember all 4. Should have written it down ahead of time. Oh, no, it was a good memory test. Anyway, they're all working. It felt like like they have left no stone unturned. They're touching every little aspect of Battlefield. Classes are back. However, the weapon selection is still open. So some people are upset about that. But what they did mention is that there's going to be the server browser is going to come back. It's going to be not front and center, but it is going to be easier to find than in previous games. So you can go to third-party servers, and these servers can have community experiences, which, if they follow a certain rule set, will still progress your character because there's going to be seasonal content like every shooter these days. But unlike a lot of shooters with custom content, if you follow certain guidelines, your levels can still be played and still earn progression towards whatever you're trying to unlock. So in that regard, they said one example of the server browser is that you can set weapons to be locked, so you can play exactly like how Battlefield used to be, which is that you choose a class and you're locked to a certain weapon. And beyond that, there's no more specialists or operators or whatever. Instead, each class has their own specialization traits. They have specific traits and actions that encourage you to play the gun that they've been designed for. So for an example, the assault class typically uses a assault rifle, right? Not a machine gun, not a SMG, but a regular M4 whatever rifle. I don't think it's an M4 anymore, but and if you equip them with that weapon, then they can have a faster time to bring up the iron sights from sprint, and that's just the assault rifle, the assault class version. But like the support class, which has the really heavy machine gun, if any other player uses that really heavy machine gun, they'll be slowed down. Like their walking and run speeds will be slow. But if you're the class made for that weapon, you don't see that penalty. You specifically will run and walk at normal speed because that's your specialty. Like that's your trait.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. So just to be aware, early access is on August 9th to 10, and the second weekend will be 14th to the 17th. You can get in a bit earlier if you're watching some Twitch streamers doing drops and stuff, which is starting on August 7th, but for the most part, those are 2 early access weekends to play for free. Besides that, October will be the release date. Anything special about Battlefield 6 that sets them apart from other Battlefield?
I mean, I will say it felt a lot like earlier Battlefields. Like when I was playing, and like of course there should have been like evident. It should have been evident that EA's or Battlefield Studios rather is trying to capture what used to make Battlefield so great, and that would have been like the heyday would have been like Battlefield 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 a little bit. But mostly 3 and 4. Like when I was done with a couple sessions on the second day, actually somebody from the Kinda Funny podcast was across the way from me, like literally on the other side. I could hear him having a ball. I think it was Mike. His name was Mike. And we discussed a little bit afterwards, and we both agreed it felt like old school Battlefield, but in the best way possible. It felt like the gunplay felt right, the vehicles drove just like you remembered. But it had the modern conveniences of like, okay, it looked great. It loaded really quickly. You could go from one checkpoint to the other pretty much instantaneously, which I remember decent load times back in the day on the older Battlefields. And it was, it's really easy to squat up. They've introduced a new kinesthetic traversal collection of features. So like one of the biggest ones is that you can, if you see a teammate downed but not killed, you can revive them like normal which is with like this injector thing, right? But as you're reviving them, you can move.
Yeah, you can drag
their
move
at
body.
The same time, and
you can drag their body.
it's a big difference maker because like if you get it killed in the middle of a hallway and the enemy's like right around the corner, that means now instead of just leaving them to die, you can run up, rush up, hold E, and then just drag them back and at least have a chance of not getting shot up again right in the hallway. It's not perfect. I mean, oftentimes you'll try to back up and you'll be behind something. You'll be stuck against something that you can't see because of the camera angle. But I mean, usually you can work your way like out of whatever situation you're in.
So in that multiplayer, how long is that one whole game?
It depends on the mode. So we played a lot of modes. We played basic squad deathmatch, which took 10 maybe 15 minutes, real quick. Just basic. You're in a squad. You shoot everyone else. You try to win. You try to get to 50 points. I think it is. I think the best we did there was like Squad 2. We didn't get any wins, but we still had fun. And then you got longer games like Conquest and especially... So Breakthrough's kind of weird though, because Breakthrough is where you're either on the attacker team or the defense team. And if you're on the attacker team, you have a limited number of respawns and you're supposed to manage to control 2 to 3 control points per phase. And if your team manages that, then all of your respawns get regenerated and now you're going to move into the next sector. While the defending team has unlimited respawns, but if they lose all the sectors, they lose the game. So I had some matches that were over by the first phase. They were like 5 minutes. Everyone sucked on the attacking team and didn't go well. But then you had breakthrough sessions that lasted the whole 40 minutes, which is what they estimate it when you enter the mode. It says estimated playtime 40 minutes. So breakthroughs definitely can be one of the longer ones. And then there's also Conquest, which is kind of like breakthrough, but you're just controlling points, managing resources, and then there's Rush, which we didn't play, and one other mode that I can't remember the name of. But for the most part, generally the games could be done outside of Team Deathmatch, which is probably your quickest modes. I'd say 20 to 40 minutes.
24 minutes. That's not too bad. Is there like guilds? Since you're talking about Conquest and objective and control points, I'm pretty sure there's going to be like a guild function where you can now assemble, a group of teams of, people that you trust or know how to coordinate, and then, slowly take points, because that sounds like what the game is trying to do is like, hey, control certain points with the limited resources and successfully infiltrate. Since defense team's gonna have a limited response and attacker is only limited, you want to try your best to optimize and efficiently control where you take it and how you position your team.
Yeah, what you described actually, I remember way back in a PS3 game called MAG, which stood for Massive Action Game. There was one player that, because it was, I forget if it was teams of 128 versus 128 or if it was 64 versus 64. Whatever it was huge, right? And so one player could opt to play as the commander, and you wouldn't actually be fighting. You would just be directing troops into different spots. Yeah. And Battlefield doesn't really have that. What they have instead is somebody's usually designated as a squad leader, and they're still running around shooting and all that, but they're also trying to manage the squad and telling them, play the phrase in Battlefield is play the objective, or PTFO, play the fucking objective if you're upset that no one's playing it. So yeah, there's ways that you can ping. You can, all the modern stuff we didn't have back then. You can ping something interesting or that you want your teammates to look at, and you just hit Q on the keyboard. I'm sure there's a shortcut on the controller, but it's a first-person shooter. I'm playing with mouse and keyboard. Yeah,
I feel like starting off, people are just going to go in and go ham, just shoot everywhere. They're not going to listen to anybody.
They're gonna just wait on standby to get the attack helicopter, because those are fun to fly in too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that they've improved is vehicular mobility. So typically, like a tank, for instance, can hold up to 4 people, and it used to be that once those 4 were in, no one else could hop. Like you could maybe jump on the tank, but now you're just exposed, and it's not a good time. But now there's extra spots on the tank where you can, if you run up and press E, you'll just hang off the back of the tank. You can't shoot anything. You look kind of ridiculous, but it's effective. I used it a couple times during my time on Battlefield 6, and it got me quickly from point A to point B. I couldn't complain. Yeah. Never got shot, but it would probably be pretty funny to see that death.
All right, so moving on. MP First is one of the publisher company that we both work for. However, Paul Michael has more experience in that notion. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I guess we meant to do this on the last episode, but we didn't really cover it too much. So I've been writing since 2009. I've been writing in the video game industry. It started off with, Sony had this thing called the Gamer Advisory Panel, which if anyone is around my age listening, they may be familiar with it. It was basically a loyalty program. One weekend I randomly registered all the games I had bought. I had a big PS3 collection at the time, and I registered all my games with Sony, and then they invited me to the Gamer Advisory Panel, and I wrote a trophy guide for Burnout Paradise back on the PS3 when Criterion Games wasn't yet bought by EA. It was really a different time, and the trophies was Sony's answer to Microsoft, who had just come out with achievements, which was making all kinds of noise because people really liked collecting points. And Sony's answer to that was trophies. And what they were originally going to enable was a retroactive trophy patch where the progress in the game that you're playing would give you the trophies as soon as you played it when the patch went live. Long story short, they couldn't do that for some technical reasons. So yeah. I was playing the hell out of that game at the time. So within the first 2 days of the trophy patch going live, I published a guide on Sony's Gamer Advisory Panel for how to get the platinum. And somebody with the screen name of Stalking Silence found me on there and asked if they could use the trophy guide on a little website called PlayStation Lifestyle, which was still running on Blogspot. I think it was Blogspot. It was it wasn't even a full domain yet. It was just like an up and coming website. And I'm like, yeah, sure. They didn't end up using the guide, but they asked if I could write for them instead. And so that kicked off my career of games journalism back in 2009. I went to 10 E3s in a row, but then that site got bought out by Crave Online and some other Gorilla Nation, I think. And long story short, they're down to a crew that's in Europe. I'm no longer writing for them, and instead I'm writing for Multiplayer First at mp1st.com. Alex Coe is the editor-in-chief there. He was the editor-in-chief at PlayStation Lifestyle, and that's how I ended up moving places, essentially, is because I know him. He knows my writing style. We get along pretty well. I'm also native to Los Angeles, just like you. So we have the benefit of being able to go to all these events just purely because of location. Like, we are just conveniently located. And so now it's been 16 years that I've been writing in the industry and seeing all kinds of things. And I'm sure more stories will pop up as we progress.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the industry as well. Some of my experience of how I got started into the gaming industry as well. But for now, I believe our time is almost up. Anything else to leave our listeners, Paul Michael? Maybe more on Battlefield 6?
Oh, yeah. Be sure to check out mp1st.com for lots of Battlefield 6 coverage. You can probably see some footage of me getting killed way too many times, both on there and on this podcast. We're going to have a couple of other... I think there might be one virtual video game event coming soon. But then it's all leading up to PAX. So I think the main thing to look forward to is PAX. We're probably going to be talking a lot more about PAX next time. For now, yeah, that's it.
So guys, thank you for tuning in to Tilted PodQuest. Catch us on Friday for our next podcast, and have a great day. See you guys.
Yep, thanks for listening.
Fuck! Medic!